and welcome to my new Zoomcast series, Fintech and Philosophy, where we explore the personal motivations that drive the success behind Fintech's top C-suite executives. I'm Cindy Taylor, publisher and co-founder of Digital Wealth News, America's leading source for news in the financial technology sector. Today, I'm joined by my friend Steve Lupien, who is the director of the University of Wyoming Center for Blockchain and Digital Innovation. Steve is also co-founder of Beef Chain, which I love that name, and I can't wait to hear more about that. And that company has a mission to create a new rancher-centric supply chain utilizing blockchain technology. Most recently, he has co-authored the textbook Blockchain Fundamentals for Web 3.0. It's behind you, right, Steve? Published in August 22, and now let's get started. Steve, thank you so much for joining me today on Fintech and Philosophy. We're so excited to hear about your journey into the digital wealth sector and how you got there.
Well, that's a long story. So,
well, we'll try to
very glad to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. Okay, let's get underway here. First of all, can you tell us about your role at the Center for the Blockchain and Digital Innovation at the University of Wyoming and what you do there? I know it's a lot.
Yeah, absolutely happy to. As many of your viewers may be aware, Wyoming has really taken a regulatory lead in the blockchain space, and so here at the University of Wyoming, we realize that you really can't take a business lead unless you have a workforce that's able to support the business that we are trying to attract here into Wyoming. So several years ago, a number of our forward-thinking deans felt that creating an interdisciplinary center, which is unique in universities to begin with, that helped each academic unit really understand how this technology applies would be very beneficial. So the founding members, so to speak, of the center is our College of Business, our College of Engineering, our College of Agriculture, and our School of Energy Resources. And more recently, we've begun working with our law school here on campus, as well as our School of Arts and Science and our College of Education. And what's unique about blockchain technology, unlike other technologies, is it really will touch almost every academic unit on campus. I used to joke about the fact that we would touch nearly every academic unit, and then one of our faculty members, a young philosophy and religion professor named Dr. Brad Rettler, started writing a philosophy of Bitcoin, kind of podcast thing. And so now I can officially say we'll touch it. If you could touch philosophy and religion inside a university, you're touching everybody. So
seriously, I have not heard the philosophy connection before. So I've heard all the others, but not philosophy. That's so cool. I'm really excited about what you guys are doing down there, and we'll talk a little bit about that later on. But first of all, it's Fintech and Philosophy. So this is the part where we want to hear about you. Okay. Where do you live? Why? Tell us about your partner. Tell us about your kids. Are they in school? Are they working professionally? We want to hear about your family life.
Well, interestingly, that's probably the topic that I'm most uncomfortable about. Most folks in blockchain tend to be a little bit more private. And but Cindy, I've known you a long time, so I'm certainly willing to share more than I normally would. I'm a northeastern boy. I grew up in the greater Boston area, and my dad was a early computer science guy when computer science was headquartered in Cambridge, not in Silicon Valley. It's kind of an interesting story if you ever want to hear about the history of how computing developed in the U.S. was, the Cambridge-centric approach to computing was that's where that's where, Wang was. It was where, Burroughs was, and Sperry was, and Cole Morgan, and all of these companies that were involved in early computing, where you had very, very large, centralized computer systems, and then everyone had dumb terminals on their desks. And, most of us old people, I hate to admit, learned how to word process on a Wang or word processor.
Yeah, Wang. I haven't heard that name
And
in so
so the
long.
Northeast really had this strong computing center, and it wasn't until the mid to late '70s that Silicon Valley really kind of took the lead when personal computers and bringing the processing power to the desktop and away from large computer rooms in businesses really began to grow, and as a result, we've seen this shift. But anyway, my dad was, one of these early, computer science guys. I mean, I was building forts in my house by stapling together punch cards. I'm one of those, geeky kids, and um, did most of my education in the greater Boston area, and then ended up going down to Sacred Heart University, just outside of New York in Connecticut, for my undergrad, and then jumped across town and did my graduate work at Fairfield University, which is a Jesuit university, also in just outside of New York. And so that was a big part of my life, was in that greater New York City area, where I lived and worked for the next 35 years. Um,
Wow.
I have a grown daughter who is an architect in Boston, and a remarkable young woman. She specializes in designing hospitals and medical office buildings, and is really a specialist in designing around the workflow and the needs of the hospital staff to be able to easily access and care for patients. So it's really fascinating, the type of work that she does. And but career wise, Cindy, I was recruited um, out of college by the Bell Operating Systems, and went through the AT&T management program back in the
Wait
day.
a minute. I got to ask a question, Bella, before it broke up. I hate to ask you that.
Yeah, well, yeah, I have to admit, that's an interesting story in its own right, because
Yeah, it is.
I joined the Bell Operating Systems right after the Judge Green decision that broke up the Bell Operating Systems, and my career has always been in new product development. It's what I am, and
Okay.
normally attached to either new marketing or new product development groups, or to marketing groups that have new product development. So for 35 years, that was my career. And part of the reason why I started with the Bell Operating Company was right after the judge decision, Bell Operating Companies realized, wait a minute, we need to develop new products. They haven't done that in nearly 100 years, and we also have to learn how to market all of a sudden. One of the interesting stories when I joined Bell Operating System in 1985, 1986, is you could take a telephone that was built in the 1880s and plug it into the 1985 network, and it would still work. And so there was monopolies are not good for innovation, and so all of a sudden, Bell Operating Systems had competitors, and
Yeah.
and they could now work in deregulated product lines. And so I was among that first group of marketers that were coming into the Bell Operating System, particularly around, let's develop some new products. I mean, we were doing cutting edge stuff back then, like like conference room video. I mean, back
Yeah, right.
I, I
Right.
I'm still
That was
amazed that
huge.
I can jump on a Zoom call so easily.
Yeah.
Back that when we were developing this stuff, you spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to outfit a conference room with
I
products
remember.
to picture tell, where
Yes.
and you only had video capability in that one room, and you were doing it over a T1 line that was a 128K. It was
I remember that. Yeah. The
you were
Sprint was in it too. Yeah.
video phone.
Hmm.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then I stayed in new product development, Cindy, throughout the rest of my career. I then moved over to a unique company that was actually a partnership between Land O'Lakes and Bigelow Tea, and I was involved in developing and marketing new products there. And then I moved to a large construction chemical company in New York, and ran their new product development and marketing group until I retired about 5 years ago. And my partner, who is a kind of well known in this space, my partner is Caitlin Long, and she's the founder of the first digital asset bank in the United States called Custodia. She is a University of Wyoming alum and grew up in Laramie. Her father was a professor here for 40 years, just a couple of buildings over that way. And we were both living in the New York City area, and it was pre-COVID. Didn't even know COVID was coming. You know, started to say, I don't think we want to retire in New York. And I think she suggested, well, let's retire in Wyoming. And so interestingly, the I've never lived west of New York City until I moved to Cheyenne, Wyoming. So
It's a pretty big leap.
yeah, pretty elite, but the American West is a remarkable place, even today. And American West, I really think, is defined by its people. And I've never heard New York City described that way. So to give you a little bit of a difference. So I truly love being out west here, and I truly
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just
So cool.
remarkable out here. The
Yeah.
University of
And
Wyoming are so progressive in this space, Cindy. It's just been
it's
wonderful.
amazing. Yeah, we have followed it for years, and it's been really interesting to watch because it's such a low population state, but so progressive in terms of blockchain innovation. And I think a lot of people, we know it, and I think a lot of people know it, and yet I think a lot of people don't know it. And so I think it's so cool how, you've taken this journey on a very traditional path in a way, even into the chemical arena. And then all of a sudden you're heading up this whole amazing blockchain education initiative. And it's quite an interesting leap for a retired guy.
Well, thanks. And I joke about this that this is really my goal.
There you
I
go.
learned I've learned that the one thing I suck at is retirement, and so
Huh? Well, to that end, it's interesting because we actually had a couple of questions that I had planned for you answered in that
sorry
the
about that.
conversation. No, all good, all good. But here's my next one. Do you have any personal passion projects or outside activities that help shape who you are now? And if it's not golf, is it blockchain? No, or something else?
Strangely enough, you know, I, you know, I have been blessed in life to, have had a wonderful career, and then been reintroduced into another wonderful career. Teaching has become an absolute passion of mine. In my corporate career, I truly benefited from some remarkable mentors. And I am a huge fan of mentoring in general. I benefited from it when I was, reached senior positions in my corporate life. I mentored as many young people as I could. And Cindy, I'm a little nervous about how mentoring is going to move forward in this new way that we work today. In my day, mentoring was you have a problem, you solve the problem. You never go to a mentor and say, help me come up with a solution. You go to a mentor and you say, I have this problem. I think I have the answer. Let me bounce it off you. But in my day, you did that at 10 of 5 when you knocked on your mentor's door and said, hey, look, before you leave, can I have
Yeah.
10 or 15 minutes of your
And
time?
sat down with them face to face,
And,
right? Yeah.
and today with remote work, can you mentor as effectively on a Zoom call? And so I think our younger people today um, are going to have a little bit of a harder time finding and developing those relationships with people who can be mentors. So one of the things I do here at the university, as much as I possibly can, is work with these young students and and who are absolutely remarkable today. Anyone who thinks that, and anyone who's afraid of this next generation, has got it wrong. This next generation doesn't think like old guys like I do. They think differently, but they can multitask, leverage technology, and do things that most of us, can't do. So I'm not at all afraid. Working closely with you know, um, youth today, I'm not at all afraid of the future of this country as long as, we get out of their way and let them innovate. And
Oh, I love
so
that.
that's really a
I
passion of
love
mine,
that.
Cindy,
I love that.
helping them just crystallize their thoughts and hopefully launch them into careers and have the success that I had. That's my goal.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Um, well, we have just a few more questions here. The next one is a little bit of a shared passion project we have together. Can you speak briefly with our audience about the blockchain education for everyone project, which Digital Wealth News is so thrilled to be partnering with you on?
Yeah, and let me say that we would not be anywhere near we are on this project without Digital Wealth News. You've been an absolutely amazing partner, and well, following COVID, the federal government made funding available for states to develop initiatives to help them rebuild their economies after COVID. And Wyoming is no different. And the money is administered by our governor's office, who formed a task force called WIP, the Wyoming Innovation Partnership. And that partnership evaluated different projects. Hundreds and hundreds of projects were proposed. And so what we proposed was, if with all the legislation that Wyoming has passed, we passed over 35 bills to date enabling blockchain and digital assets. And the goal is to positively impact our economy. A great example is how South Dakota embraced credit card processing, and now there are tens of thousands of jobs in Sioux Falls around credit card processing. You can make legislative changes that impact your state's economy, and so that was our goal. But we also recognized that um, you know we needed a well-trained workforce to be able to work with these companies that we are attracting. And Wyoming is not the first place people think of relocating. We joke here in Wyoming that the hardest part of moving to Wyoming is surviving your first winter. You can make your first winter, okay. We are just about May, and it was snowing when I drove to campus today. So this is a hardy place. So
Yeah.
we believe that, if we're going to have a well-trained workforce, our best bet is to do it with people from the Mountain West area who are accustomed to this climate. And so the WHIP initiative saw the value in that. And we reached out, to, Cindy and Digital Wealth News to help partner because universities are good at certain things, they're not good at others. And so with this partnership, we truly have the experience and technical capabilities of Digital Wealth News combined with the academic, you know, um, expertise and access to subject matter expertise that we have at the university. And we can bring those capabilities together. And our program has essentially three parts to it. The first part is, we need to make high school students aware of technology.
Yes.
And, STEM, I think you need to foster STEM in high school, if not sooner, because I
Oh,
think your
definitely.
university
Yeah.
choices are often
Yeah.
driven by, what you want to do with life. I mean, if you want to work in the blockchain or digital asset space, nobody has the programs that University of Wyoming does. So
I know.
you would choose to come to the University of Wyoming specifically around that. Well, if you're not introduced to STEM and technology in high school, how can you make that decision?
Yes.
Second phase is, University of Wyoming has incredibly robust programs. You're going to get a degree in blockchain at the University of Wyoming, first Division One university to do that. We are now developing some advanced degrees, masters in blockchain and petroleum engineering, masters in business science, and we're beginning to explore a JD MBA. But here in Wyoming, we are the only four-year university. We have a very, very robust community college system here in Wyoming. So we can't leave them out of the mix either. And so part of our initiative is to also develop academic programs that can be used in our community colleges, either into existing courses, certificates, or even as part of their degree programs. And that's what this textbook was really designed about. And
Yeah.
again, one of the great things about doing things like textbooks with programs like the WHIP initiative is you can buy this on Amazon for $29. I mean, most textbooks are out of the reach of most people. Well, we intentionally did that because, as Cindy mentioned, this program is called Blockchain Education for Everyone. We want to make it accessible. And then the last part of our educational program is continuing ed, adult education. This workforce is going to come from everywhere. And, just concentrating on high school, college, and community college students isn't going to provide the expertise we need in this state. So we are also developing education that adults who are looking to enhance their careers or change their careers can participate in. And the really amazing part of this program, and this is a part where Digital Wealth News is unbelievably invaluable, is we're going to make this program available outside of Wyoming,
Yeah.
and
I love that.
so other school districts around the country can have access to this. Other universities, we're talking to a number of HBCUs that are looking to expand. A number of other land grant universities. And there's also a number of not-for-profit organizations out there. One I've spoken to recently, like the LeBron James Foundation, which
Mhm.
is working closely with the inner city high schools to help break the cycle that some of these students are trapped in. And digital assets, and more importantly, technical literacy is going to be important for these students to be able to really get out of these difficult situations that they may be in some of these cities. And so I really applaud organizations like the LeBron James Foundation, but they need curriculum, and that's kind of what we're looking to do.
Oh, it's so exciting. And the way we've structured, I think is so cool. Just for our audience briefly, it's a 12 module program. There will be an NFT certificate for the students at the end. There will be interactive gaming and interactive development of NFTs and just a basic underlying foundation of what blockchain and the digital currency space is about. So it's good. It's I get goosebumpy when I think about it. It really is. I'm so excited to be involved with you guys on this. And
Well, we
you know,
couldn't do it without you, Cindy, and Digital Wealth News. I say that sincerely. We just wouldn't have had the capability to create something like this without an organization like yours. So thank you.
well, thank you. It's a win-win. Two more quick questions
Yep.
for you, then we'll wrap it up. How would you say all the items that you've just shared with us impact your role today as director of the Center of Blockchain and Digital Innovation
Yeah.
at the university? And I want to hear a little bit about AI too
Sure.
in this
Yeah,
response because
I think
I
I can.
know that's coming.
Yeah, I can kind of maybe combine my answer on that one for the sake of time.
Okay.
You know, uh, I'm old enough to remember back when, I was in boardrooms talking about, hey, there's this new thing called the internet. We should, as a company, start seeing how. I mean, at the time I was with that Land O'Lakes Bigelow cooperative, and I remember sitting in a boardroom and having board members say to me, "Isn't the internet just for drug dealers and money launderers?" And so it's funny how it's kind of run full circle. Um,
It has, because that's what they say about Bitcoin, right?
well,
Digital
and
currencies.
and so what we're really teaching here at the university is we have a very different approach to our educational system here around, around blockchain. And we are focusing on applied blockchain. We're not, yes, over in our School of Engineering, we teach the programming languages and we teach all that. You have to. Okay. But
Yeah.
what we've done uniquely that other universities haven't yet is we're really focusing on the applied side. Okay. The programming languages in blockchain are not that difficult, sorry to say. And I mean, we run boot camps here on campus, programming boot camps for junior high school and high school students to learn the programming languages. So, that's not the hard part about blockchain. The hard part about blockchain is what do you do with it? What's the so what? How do you take this new technology and apply it to your everyday business? How are smart
Mhm.
contracts going to change the way a plumber operates? How are these new digital assets going to change the way money is moved around the world? Those are the questions that really need to be answered to make this technology useful. And so that's what we're focusing. And interestingly, I just got approved, and this fall we are going to be launching an applied AI program as part of my center as well too. And we're going to include the AI curriculum into the blockchain minor. So we're going to expand that minor a little bit to be a little bit more applied business technology. But when you look at what's available to businesses today, blockchain for supply chain, smart contracts, tokenization through NFTs. Again, international remittances are going to change dramatically. Payment systems are going to change dramatically. Machine learning is reanalyzing how business processes work. Although it seems like it's slowed down a little bit, I really do believe the metaverse in the next decade is going to become an important part of not only our everyday lives, but our everyday work lives as well too. And now we have this new technology that is growing at a pace that's staggering. Just the millions and millions of people that are now using open AI and products like that in literally the last 6 months is
Mhm.
astonishing.
Yeah.
Companies don't know what to do with this technology. They don't yet know how this technology can, positively impact their everyday world. I will. The first time that I will divulge a little secret. When I proposed the AI course to the administration here, they said, "That sounds really cool, Steve. Can you write a proposal on it?" And I went to OpenAI. I asked it to write a proposal around these parameters, okay, and made a
Yes.
couple of small changes, okay, submitted that. And one of the administrators came back to me and said, "That was a really, really well written proposal. Great job." And my response to that was, "Thank you."
You
You know,
exactly.
it's so I think it's fascinating that AI,
Yeah.
when people say AI is going to take over the world, well, if it wasn't for AI, I'm not all that sure I would have gotten the AI curriculum. So
There you
you know,
go.
it's
It's a winner.
but yeah, I get a little bit of flack with this on campus with some of my other faculty members, but I allow my students in my applied blockchain courses to use AI. Now, look, if they do their entire paper in AI, I'll know that and their grade will reflect it. Okay. But
Yeah.
it's a tool. I'm
It's
an
a
old
tool.
enough guy to remember when there was controversy over whether you could bring a calculator into your office.
Calculator, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a tool. Okay.
Yeah.
And,
And it's there.
it's our job as educators to help students understand how to use that tool. I have told my students, you better not commit academic fraud. And so if you're going to use AI, you better cite it. Okay. There's an
Right.
appropriate way to use it.
Yeah.
But why would we limit a tool like that?
Yeah,
And
I like your analogy to the calculators because I even remember taking SAT tests and you couldn't take the calculator. And remember slide rules?
oh, yeah,
that was
I got one
before
on my
you
desk.
took a slide rule.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Cindy, we're,
so
we're,
you know
we're,
what?
we're we're rapidly dating ourselves, aren't we?
I know that that's a good thing because you're way older than me.
Way older than you. Yes, I am.
Way older than me. Anyway,
Yeah,
we're
I
gonna
just don't know
wrap
how
it.
you've accomplished so much, Cindy, at
I
the
know.
age of 29. I don't know how you've done it.
Shocking, isn't it? Time travel. Steve, one last question for you. If you
Sure.
were to select one phrase or motto that you live your life by, what would that phrase or motto be and why?
Um, Probably two things that two phrases I've known for through my business career, and I really, it's part of why I got into blockchain, believe it or not, is I believe that you need to incent the behaviors you want. And, in my new product development career, you know, that applies to, how do you create a product or a pricing structure or whatever that the incentive structure of that product brings about the result that you want. And in our capitalistic society, and I am a huge capitalist, I'm a firm believer. Some of the stories I talk about is there was a famous airline at one point in time that I'm sure this was a great idea in accounting, who said, we're going to incentivize pilots on it if they, can save fuel. And, so what pilots started to do is go, I'm making money if I save fuel. I'm going to throttle back. As a result, the airline had the worst on time rating and lost business. And I'm sure at the time when that program was proposed, it was a great idea. And then they realized, wait a minute, this is bad. We're losing customers as a result of this. So now they incent pilots on time performance. And they are now not going to mention them, but the number one airline. And so in business, you need to look at the unintended consequences of actions you take, like
Here.
we're going to save a ton of money if
Yeah.
we incentivize pilots. And in business, there's almost always those decisions you have to make. So it's often hard, but incent the behaviors you want with all your stakeholders it applies to. And the other thing I try to really instill in my students is almost every problem has a solution. And you just have to learn to work the problem. Break problems down into constituent parts. Okay. Think outside the box. Satoshi Nakamoto, to bring this back to blockchain, whoever he, she, or they were brilliant in two things. One is they never invented a thing. What they did was they brought a whole bunch of existing technologies together in a way that no one had been able to figure out before. Okay. And create this new thing called Bitcoin, which created blockchain. And that's absolutely a incent the behavior you want, because that's what consensus mechanisms are. Okay. It's why it's never been hacked. Okay. But more importantly, Satoshi was a systemic thinker and a true polymath. And, most problems, don't look at them vertically. The old saying, to a carpenter, every problem is a nail. Okay. Well, Satoshi solved an age-old engineering problem with economic theory. No one had, in 50 years of computer science, no one had done that before. Think horizontally in life. Okay. Go outside of your discipline to solve problems. And if you do that, you'll almost always find a solution. Very, very, very few problems. The answer is throw your arms up and walk away because it can't be solved. If you can solve the problem of protecting data when it's moving, which had never been done before, with something called proof of work. What? I don't understand. That's brilliant. And I encourage business people to think like that. Think horizontally. If you're solving a accounting problem, the solution may exist in philosophy, or it may exist in agriculture. It may exist. Look outside your narrow discipline, and chances are there's a solution out there somewhere.
I love that. That's so awesome. So great. Well, Steve, that wraps up our conversation today. It has been a blast, and I get to
Ah,
talk with you all the time.
well,
And
geez,
I
there's so much
still
for our
learn
20-minute
something new.
interview, Cindy.
Yeah, well,
Sorry about that.
this one will be a little longer. We'll make an exception for you. I'd like to thank our audience for joining us today, and make sure to check out the next slide for links to the University of Wyoming Center for Blockchain and Digital Innovation, and also Digital Wealth News. And Steve, thank you as well. It's just been amazing.
Genuine pleasure.
Cheers from the last best place, Bozeman, Montana, right next door to Wyoming. And we'll see you again soon. Bye for now.